Welcome back and happy new month. I'm excited to have you here for another episode. Today we are diving into a concept that affects every aspect of our lives: opportunity cost. The first time I encountered this term was in high school economics. It was simply described as the alternative foregone. In a world of scarce resources, time, money, and energy, we must make conscious choices about where to channel them. If it were up to us, we would have everything in abundance. But adulthood quickly teaches us that we and our resources are finite. Everything comes at a cost. Every choice we make means letting go of something else. The true cost of any decision isn't just in monetary terms. It's also quantified by the opportunities you have to forego as a result of your choice. That is why it's called opportunity cost. A major challenge that many adults face is deciding where to invest their efforts. From career to relationships, health, personal development, we are constantly making trade-offs. The natural tendency is to want it all, but the reality is that to excel in one area, you often have to sacrifice excellence in other areas. Growing up, I watched movies on African magic, where people sacrificed their loved ones or did despicable things for money rituals. These movies were often gory, and you could argue that they are not realistic. But they pointed to an important truth: sacrifices must be made, though hopefully not as extreme as in those films. I've probably said this too many times, but I believe you can have it all, just not at the same depth. It's a saying that where you invest is where you harvest. Think about it. If you dedicate more time to your career, you'd likely experience more professional success, but it may come at the cost of time with loved ones. If you prioritize relationships, your career progression might slow down. And ironically, those winning at work often envy those with thriving relationships, and vice versa. That's opportunity cost in action. It's all a question of what is most important to you at every point in time. And so if you are winning in one area and envying someone who is winning in a different area, the big question is, can you sacrifice the same things they are sacrificing? Consciously or unconsciously, we all make sacrifices, and the sacrifices we make determine our outcomes. And so I'll talk about another important thing, which is choosing what to be bad at. It takes time to master valuable skills. Back in secondary school, you couldn't be in the science and arts class simultaneously. You had to choose. There's a fine line between being versatile and being a jack of all trades, master of none. So here's the question. If your name came up in a conversation, what's the one thing people would always associate with you? What can they always come to you for? If you struggle to answer, it might be time to focus. You can be good at many things averagely, or great at one thing. You can have a broad skill set, but true success often comes from deep expertise in a few areas. You must consciously decide where to excel and where to accept mediocrity without guilt. The balancing act. Finding balance isn't easy. Let's take a look at 3 different scenarios, and you may fall into one. Scenario 1. You have many friends, so you are never lonely. But you don't have money because friendships demand time and availability. Scenario 2. You have lots of money, but your job is so demanding that it doesn't let you socialize, and so you have no friends. Scenario 3. You have plenty of free time to do whatever you want, but you don't have a job, or you're not growing quickly in your career. The key question is this: what are you willing to sacrifice? Some people want to be rich and famous, and they prioritize their careers over everything else. Others would rather spend time with their family, even if it means earning less. Both paths are valid, but you must choose your own sacrifices. And importantly, if your priority is family, don't compare yourself to someone thriving at work. They are making different sacrifices than you. Now let's talk about the role of efficiency and asking for help. In today's world, it's okay to be bad at certain things. The key is to focus on your core competence and delegate as much of everything else as possible. You could ask for help from a friend or leverage useful tools. For instance, I often teach people, while I know my subject well, designing slides isn't my forte, so I use some tools to make me produce good slide designs faster and more efficiently. I may not produce graphics comparable to a professional graphics designer, but that's okay. My goal is to convey a message, not to master graphics design. Don't be ashamed of being average or even bad at things you don't consider a priority. The problem only arises if you struggle in your core area. Even if you wear multiple hats, there should be a core identity you are known for. You need to be clear on what your core focus is and channel most of your energy to improving in that area. Now here's why adulthood feels overwhelming. Life seems simpler as kids because choices were made for us, and at least we had some structure to follow, like the timetables we had for school lessons, our bedtime, etc. Adulthood is complicated because we try to juggle everything at once. One of the biggest roadblocks to progress is trying to change everything simultaneously. Perhaps this year you looked at your life and thought, I need to do better in every area. You want to exercise more, read more, spend more time with family, and advance fast in your career all at once. These are all great goals and it's possible to achieve them. But you might run into issues when you try to make drastic changes in many key areas at the same time. The more moving part, the harder it is to make real progress. If you've abandoned your goals, this might be why. You could choose instead to focus on one major shift at a time. Atomic habits matter more than overwhelming to-do lists. Some important tasks have been on your to-do list for weeks, but you never get down to doing them. Maybe they're not that important to you, but reevaluate and decide whether you really want to do them. So to wrap up, here are the key takeaways. Number 1, you don't need to master everything. Focus on your core strengths and accept being average or bad at other areas without guilt. Number 2, your priorities may be many, and that's fine. But sometimes you need to channel the bulk of your energy into one. It could be for a day, it could be for a period of time. But trade-offs and sacrifices must be made. You just need to be sure that the sacrifice is worth it in the grand scheme of things. And number 3, not everything is urgent, and not everything is important. If a task has been on your to-do list for too long, ask yourself if it truly matters or if you are making the wrong sacrifices. As we step into the month of March, I need you to remember that day in, day out, consciously or subconsciously, you are making sacrifices. You are likely to achieve better results if you become more intentional about the sacrifices you make. We'll pause here for today. If you found this useful, please share it with someone who might need it. Until next time, keep being amazing. My name is Murphy Nnamdi Ochuba.